Hi, I am Rory Ray, and welcome to Rory Ray Feminine Energy Radio for Women. And I am here today with the great Anna Rova. And Anna is somebody I really just recently met when I was on her podcast. And she's stunning. She is amazing. She is an extremely powerful voice in feminine energy. And I was struck right away with how her sensitivity and her brilliance as an interviewer, which means that she listens. So now I'm getting some stuff from her, stuff that I've really never heard of before. So I'm really thrilled. Anna, thank you for coming.
Thanks so much, Rory, for this amazing introduction. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I really felt honored to be on your podcast. And I want to know all the little ins and outs about feminine energy and relationships that are newer, that I may, I've missed, or just we can just have a great conversation. Tell me, what do you feel is the main problem that the women who come to you have?
Yeah, I love how you started that are newer. I don't think anything is new, but I think it's just everyone's interpretation of it maybe is a little bit different, and maybe where I come from, who I am, what I've studied, what I've researched, my own experience. Perhaps it just took me not in a different direction, but there's some layers here that maybe there's some nuances. I'm not sure. So you asked me the question, what are the women coming to me for? What are they struggling with? I mean, I think it's the same thing that your clients are coming to you for, and what they're coming to any, feminine energy coach or anyone who is helping women today with dating. Mostly, attracting emotionally unavailable men, attracting men who don't want a relationship, are not ready for it, and just want something casual or sex or whatever. And also another problem is that attracting feminine men. Feminine men, when I say feminine men, is men who are not in their masculine energy, who are not attractive, would rather do everything you tell them to do. That's what I've discovered as I started to research. And that's why I got so passionate about helping women with this problem, is that it seems like the more successful we are, because we live in the best times today for women, the more successful women become, the less happy they are in relationships with men. So I've discovered this trend, and so I really got curious about why and how to fix it. And therefore, here I am. I have a group coaching program called Claimed, where I help women break through those patterns with men so they can start attracting committed masculine men.
That's brilliant. So you have a group program. What do you consider an overall thing that now there's so many masculinized women and so many feminized men, and that we're just doomed? Or do you see it as a potential turnaround?
Yeah,
I know for myself I do. I think we can turn everything around, but maybe not. What do you think?
No, of course we're not doomed. If you'd ask me, are we doomed in any area of life? Or I will always say, of course not. I'm someone who is very driven internally and very optimistic and has a very positive view of the world. In fact, I always look at the glass half full, because of who I am, what I went through and all of that. So of course we're not doomed, and many women, the biggest question is like, where are all the good men? And I'm like, they're freaking everywhere. You're just not seeing them. Why we're not doomed is because men will always be men. Meaning that most men identify with masculine essence, and women will always be women. Most women identify with a feminine essence. My actually stumbling upon this concept of polarity, which is feminine masculine energy, right, in relationship dynamics. And this is where I think that maybe you're a bit interested in like how I think about this, because I've developed this on my own through my own research. So I actually didn't study any kind of coaching or how to work with women in feminine energy, which I know you have a coaching school, and many big names today have come from your school, which is amazing. I am a feminine embodiment coach, which means that I did a training in feminine embodiment, but it was a very, it's a general training on how to, women mostly, but all individuals, how to have that connection with your body, discover who you truly are, and actually express that in the world and live a life that's aligned with you. But it was a very general training. And an amazing coaching certification that I got. So I took that certification and paired it up with all of my knowledge, expertise. I worked with some one-on-one clients, all the research that I've done over the years, and of course my own story that I managed to turn around, attract my husband, we have a family now, and I've paired that all together into a process that at the bottom of it, the foundation is feminine embodiment, which is very much working with the body, which is where I feel like your work, Rory, and mine are aligned in the sense that it's all about feelings and communicating and all of that. I can answer more questions about this. But coming back to, are we doomed? No, because, for me, like this feminine masculine energy, I felt it in myself because obviously as a woman, I was attracted always to masculine men. But the problem was that because I was so driven and still am driven, I'm a very A-type personality. All of my girlfriends are like, Anna, you're the most ambitious person I know, the most ambitious woman I know, or maybe in person. My world of men has always been divided into two categories, either the asshole type of a guy who's very much in his masculine energy, which is very attractive, but he didn't want a relationship. He was ghosting me. He just wanted something casual to see me on the weekend, have sex, and that's it. Or the other scenario is the nice guy. My parents would have loved, and his parents would have loved for us to marry and stuff like that. He would be an amazing husband, but I would walk all over him. And in fact, I was almost engaged to this type of a man. So in my worldview, and I feel like that's where women are today, there's nothing in between. There's either the asshole type of a man who's in his masculine energy or the nice guy who's in his feminine energy, and there's nothing in between. And this is why it was so disappointing to me, and I feel like so many women today feel like they're doomed. But in fact, that reality is not true. That reality is what they see because of many different reasons of how they've been affected in the past, limiting beliefs, and how the world has been constructed. And so, are we doomed? No, because men will always be men and aligned in their masculine energy. Some of them are not aligned yet with that masculine energy. And I'm talking about the pools of like nice guys. A lot of nice guys graduate to the true masculine essence with a specific type of a woman who evokes that masculine energy within him. So I went down, like this feminine masculine energy concept was amazing. I stumbled upon it. I believed it. I felt it in my body. Everybody was talking about it as well. But somewhere along the lines, I actually asked the question, why? Like, why are most men masculine essence beings in terms of, they're all about progress and success and winning and going forward. And like, obviously men are from Mars, women are from Venus, but I asked the question, why? And that led me down to the research of evolutionary psychology. And this is why we're not doomed. Because in evolutionary terms, if you look, thousands and thousands of years ago, how the male brain has developed, how the female brain has developed, how we, through thousands of years, how we mate, how we learn how to mate, explains feminine masculine polarity. It's evolutionary psychology. It's actually sexual selection and mating preferences. And so we're not doomed because the last 70 years of contraception and feminist and blah, 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 like all of that is such a minuscule amount of time to change anything. Men will always be in their protector, provider type of energy. Most men, okay, not all, most men. And women will always be in their surrender, leaning back, your term seems like energy, because of evolutionary psychology and biology as well. I always say, as long as women are the ones to have children and get pregnant, there's nothing that's going to change. So these are the good news. Of course, we can turn it around. I don't know if there's anything to turn around, honestly. It's just literally women like you teach, Rory, coming back to their own selves, coming back to their own bodies, coming back to their emotions and feelings that are always there and have been there. We've just suppressed them for years, decades, generations as well. Does that answer your question?
There's so much more to this. I just love it. First of all, tell me how you figured this out with your own husband.
Yeah, so I mean, I have done all of this work before I met him. So as I said, my world was divided into two, the asshole type of a guy and a nice guy. And so I started to do my own internal work. So my work stands on 3 pillars. Number 1 is, I call it You Are the Problem, which means that it's all about the excavation of what's causing all of these patterns that you see today in the world. It's kind of like an iceberg, right? So all the symptoms, I call them the symptoms that you see, what kind of men you're attracting are actually a mirror. You know, when you said, Rory, on my podcast, I promise you that if you're attracting emotionally unavailable men, you yourself are emotionally unavailable. Absolutely correct. This has been my experience. You know, I work with so many women who are at the top of their game. they're like president of companies and bankers and lawyers and things like that. And they're like the full package, right? They bought a house, they have an amazing circle of friends, they have an amazing lifestyle, they travel to freaking Italy every year. Like it's amazing, right? But the area of their lives, which is romance and intimacy, is missing. And so the men that they're attracting are not the men that they want to be with. And so it's a mirror. And I always say men are mirrors. And so the first step is to actually look into the mirror. And that's what I've done when I did my work. And I looked into the mirror and I started to ask myself, like, how am I emotionally unavailable? And how am I how am I a co-participant? Because you're always a co-participant in dynamics. You always attract your equal in terms of emotional, where you're at. So if you're attracting men who treat you like shit, we got to look inside and see how are we treating ourselves as shit. And how are we not prioritizing ourselves and stuff like that? So I started to do all of that work. I started doing the deep work of excavation before even I did my coaching training, right? And I started to realize that I carry in myself and in my body all of these beliefs, right? And even though, Rory, so I know your story, you say that you are the woman who, was always a pleaser, didn't have self-esteem. And I got to tell you that all of those successful, ambitious, A-player type of women, when it comes to men, they feel the same way. Women are like chameleons, we have so much power and we're like, ooh, I can be this like amazing CEO during the day, but when it comes to a guy who I really like, who is successful and all that, I start to freeze, I start to shake, I start to tremble, I don't know what I want to do, like I can't, and then she constricts within herself. And so that's what I used to do, even though I was like very ambitious and successful and all of that. So the deep excavation, what I've discovered about myself is that I carried a lot of limiting beliefs about men, about women, about relationships, about love, and about myself. And if there's like 5-6 layers when it comes to those. And I work with women around all of these layers, starting from generational patterns, where women in my family never trusted men, could never rely on men. Men were drinking, men were at war, men were just cheaters and pigs and so on and so forth. And, I actually recently had a really powerful event in my program where we did this body release of all these patterns where we carry in our bodies, in our genes, beliefs that our mothers carried when they carried us, right? And then our grandmothers and so on and so forth. I know you talk about survival mechanism that has happened for thousands of years. Of course, I can't deny it. Patriarchy exists. And that's why in my video, I'm like, yeah, patriarchy exists, right? Like women have always, historically speaking, we could not speak our minds because it physically was dangerous and we had to carry babies. So we had to shut up for years and years. But we live in a different time today. We don't need to live the story of our mothers. That's why I'm so passionate about this work, because I say the story stops with you. I literally, Rory, because I've done this work and I've attracted a man who's not only obviously committed to me, but he's in his masculine energy and he's such a beautiful gentleman. He has stuff to work on, just like I do, but I've stopped that cycle and that story. I'm teaching now my daughters through an example. Like my daughters are daddy's girls. Oh my God. Like when I come in to pick them up from school, they run past me and they run to daddy. When they wake up in the morning at night, they run to daddy, 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 and I feel really proud of this. I know that I am modeling healthy relationship dynamic, at least to my understanding and how I do it. So that's the first thing, excavating and then reframing, or like taking all this shit out and then reframing, right? I thought that love was silence. I thought that, men couldn't be trusted and men are cheaters and pigs and all of that. I didn't know what love was. And I also felt not good or worthy of a man like that who is now my husband. So that's number one. Number two pillar is all about that feminine masculine polarity. So it's what you teach, and I'm sure our pillars are very similar. But the second thing is getting out of your head, out of your masculine energy that do, go, tell everybody what to do, and stepping back and actually connecting to yourself as a woman who you are, right? So connecting to your feelings, connecting with letting go, learning how to communicate based on your feelings, all of that. And then the third pillar is all about feminine embodiment, in my work, which is all about the body. And I know you do some, what I would call embodiment work. I don't know if you know about those books, Rory, the Waking the Tiger and The Body Keeps the Score, where feminine embodiment, the coaching methodology that I use with women is actually rooted in somatic therapy. And somatic therapy is one of the best, if not the best, modalities to heal PTSD and trauma. And so I feel like what you do, which I asked you on my podcast, the methodology that you use, like theater-like or role model or playing, this is one of the somatic therapies that is used to work with like veterans or PTSD and stuff like that in his book. So I know that that's one of the reasons. I'm sure there's many reasons why your method works, but that's one of the reasons, because you bring the body in, because the body literally keeps the score. These are the 3 pillars, and that's how I did my work. And in fact, I didn't know what feminine embodiment was, but I did a lot of practices and things where I could get out of my head and into my feminine energy, do funneling, circular dating, how you call it. And so I've done all of this on my own first, and then I attracted my husband, and then I started to work with women one-on-one, and now I have a group coaching program, which is obviously teaching all of that.
Wow. I love everything you said, and the somatic stuff. I come from river Reichian therapy, screaming on my back in a swimming pool naked. That's what we did in my day.
I love it.
That was the news, breathing and hyperventilating, and talk about somatic stuff. And then I actually went to a big class of Peter Levine's, the somatic, and I've worked with a somatic person. I really have intense respect for your ability to really incorporate that. And of course, I incorporate that as well in different ways, using whatever I came up with, a tool called tracking that I use all the time. But when and I want to keep wanting to go back to your own relationship here, because I'm still fascinated. You are one of the few truly success-oriented, super intellectual, smart, thinking, got this together, directed person who's also in her feminine energy, that it's hard to meet somebody like that. I know you must meet women who have one of those things but not the other, and incorporating those 2 qualities. How do you feel you can be ambitious and yet be a mother and be a loving feminine energy counterpart for your husband? How do you juggle all those things? Is it a physical thing? What is it?
Yeah, great question, Ori. And I feel like, a lot of the women who come to my work really resonate with that part, right? Like I attract a lot of women who are like, whoa, 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 go, go, go. And then they are very attracted to that quality within me. As I said, I am one of the most ambitious people that people meet. At least they tell me that. So it's really just a question of how I do it. I think that how I do it is I've learned how to switch. So let's say a regular woman, right? Like, so during the day when I work, when I'm here with you today, I am in my masculine energy. Well, at least I think so. I know you've got some other. That's why this whole area of feminine energy at work is such a, I don't know how you describe it. Like it's a puzzle. There's so many different things that we can talk about. But anyways, I'm just going to tell you how I see what I do today. So in my work, mostly when I'm at work, I'm in my masculine energy, because the business inherently, I think, at least so far, is masculine energy, where I have to be in my head most of the time, I would say, right? I have to manage a team, and I have to put up schedules. I have to look at numbers and stuff. And, my team is super small and my business is still small. So this is my work, and this is where women are. We have to, at work, we have to make decisions. We have to sometimes make very hard decisions. We have to look at the data, look at the numbers. And the women that I work with, lawyers, bankers, litigators, right? And prosecutors. Where they're like, Anna, talk about masculine energy in the room, right? Like, is there a way to do it in the feminine way? Sure. But that's a different conversation. But I do that during the day. And so for me, how I show up as a woman in my relationship and in my feminine energy with my children and everything else is I learn how to switch. I learned how to switch. And even in my work, like this is obviously all trickling down, by the way, but when I do my feminine embodiment practice, so I teach a daily fundamental feminine flow practice, as I call it, which allows me and all of my clients on a daily basis to connect to my body and to connect to my feelings. That's why for me, a lot of the personal growth out there and programs and things like that do not have the element of embodiment, they're not sustainable in a long term. At least that's why, talk therapy is amazing and great, but it takes such a long time. And it's a story. Like a lot of the times when you live in the mind, it's a story, and the mind is designed to keep you safe. And so all of these modalities and programs and everything, they're great. However, in order to have this sustainable long-term result, you have to bring the body into the picture. You have to start to work with your body on reframing and being. It's a new way of being for a woman today once she learns this. So that's what I do. I have my feminine flow practice every day that keeps me out of my head and in my body, keeps me aligned, and just really allows me to process whatever's happening in my life day to day. And so then I show up. Obviously, this has trickling effects into work and in relationship and with my children, so that I learn how to switch. I know how to turn on the masculine energy when I need it, when decisions have to be made, when I have to show up at work and stuff like that. But I also know how to turn on my feminine energy when I'm with my man, when I am with my children. And so that's how I roll. I kind of go in and out of these, because women and men, we have both feminine and masculine energies, and masculine energy is actually really freaking helpful. It's a holistic way. At least this is how, I see it. And I've been also taught by some mentors where a holistic integrated individual moves from masculine to feminine and vice versa, even in men, right? Like men also need feminine energy. So, and I'm not saying I'm doing it perfectly, but so far it works. And I'm really happy in my marriage where, sex is becoming better and better. I still respect my man and I'm still attracted to him the day I met him, which was almost 7 years ago. Which I know that very successful women don't really experience as things, especially when you have children, they're like, I have children, forget about sex and all that. So that's how I do it. I have my practice, I have my tools, and this is what I'm also teaching women to do as well, which is very similar to, I think, how you work with women, what you teach.
I love the way you have your life, all the pieces of your life that are making you happy. I think when something is missing so much, it's so easy to get thrown. And can you give us something to go on with the embodiment that you do that helps you stay in your feminine energy, that you start off the day with, that trickles down, that you spoke about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a very simple practice. I mean, obviously, I teach all of my clients that practice, and there are specific steps and kind of guidance, but any woman can do it. Like, you don't need to join my program to do it. Essentially, it's like pausing to feel, right? And most women don't know how to feel. Most women don't have the tools, and they don't have the time. Funny enough, right? It's like, go from the beginning to end, especially if you're a mother. Oh my God, wake up, kids running, breakfast, what do I put on? Makeup, to drop them to school, back to work, meetings, okay, dinner time. Like, I'm in that grind every day also. But what I also do is, I had a meeting with you today, Rory, at 6 a.m. So I made sure to wake up at 5, and actually 6 a.m. is a really early start. I take about minimum an hour. So I wake up minimum an hour before I start work or before my children wake up. Normally it's like 2 hours because I also ride into my practice. So I have a whole morning routine that's designed, and this is also how I do it. Since I had children, even from the beginning, before I met my husband, I always had a morning routine, which actually taught me to focus on me first. And that's what I see. I always teach women, you are the prize and you get the best piece, because, happy wife, happy life. That's 100% true. Women today are so stressed and resentful and bitter and exhausted because they themselves do not take the time to focus on what's important to them, to focus on them, to feel, to process, to be with themselves. The transformation that happens with women that I work with towards the end of the program is where they realize this incredible diamond that has been sitting there all their life, that hasn't been, polished enough. When a woman is treating herself like the prize, she walks into any room and on any date, obviously without an ego. like this man is lucky to be with her here. And of course, she's also lucky depending on the man, but it's a certain embodied quality of a queen, of an empress, whatever you want to call, right? Wild woman sometimes, but it's that. So first thing that I would actually recommend to all women, especially if you have children, wake up half an hour before. Take that half an hour for you. Whatever you want to do. You know, I wake up and I journal. I write my morning pages. Then I do my feminine flow practice. Then I do some other exercise, and then I try to write. It's not perfect, right? But whatever, you know, you can do tarot cards, you can meditate, whatever it is, right? And then the second thing is this practice of feminine embodiment basically means that can you pause before reacting? Because that's what we do. Someone says, especially with men, it's like that, you know, verbal diarrhea. So I always, and this is something I've been taught by my coach, is depth first, structure second. What does that mean, especially for women? That means that I first deal with my own shit. Whatever is happening with a man, with a coworker, whatever, with my children, right? I pause and I ask myself, what do I feel and how does it feel? Where is it in my body? So some of the cues that are actually very helpful, instead of how do I feel? I feel bad. That doesn't mean anything, okay? So ask yourself, where is it in your body? Get to the details of it. So where is that? I ask all my coaching clients, how does it feel? Oh, it feels exhausting, whatever, annoying, whatever it is. Where is it in your body? And tell me the texture of that, the shape, the form, the color. How would you describe what you're feeling? A lot of women have never been asked that question. They don't know how to navigate the inner senses or the inner realm of their emotions or the feelings of their bodies. And so that's what we do. And so every woman can do that. I do that on my mat every morning in my feminine flow practice, because it's like brushing teeth. That's why I feel, Rory, you experience me as this kind of like calm woman who's in her feminine energy. Perhaps I'm not doing it perfectly all the time, but I brush my teeth, metaphorically speaking, or I take my shower. One of my girls who works with me, she calls it unclogging the emotional plumbing system. So this whole, how do you call it? It's literally like an unclogging, right? And it happens day to day, because as women we accumulate and we feel every single second, every moment, and the body literally keeps the score. So, I mean, this is very simple. Have a morning routine. Sometimes it's an evening routine, but I really like to focus on myself in the morning before the world. The world will always want something from me as a woman. My children, my husband wants to have sex with me every day. My kids want me and my time, and, you know, cook them breakfast, whatever. The world, my clients, like, it's crazy. You wake up and it's crazy. The world is crazy. At least I experience it like this a lot of the time. So first, I focus on me. And one of the ways that I focus on me is I do an embodiment thing in the morning. But you can also do it throughout your day. Like if something happens, take a moment, go to the bathroom, whatever, and just breathe and notice how does that feel. And then obviously I use a movement practice as well. So movement in my methodology is extremely important. Closing down your eyes, breathing, moving. And if you can introduce sound into that, that's amazing. And if you do it day by day, it's like a muscle. I've been taught, and that's what I train, that embodiment is a muscle that builds. We know how to do this. Like we're animals, we're mammals. So like gazelles, you know, after they run, after a stressful event, a tiger has been chasing them, or a lion, whatever, they shake it out. They do things. Well, we don't, because we're socialized animals and we don't have the tools. We don't know how to do it safely. So that's what I teach women to do. And that's why this whole process works, because it's weaved in, and fundamentally it's the foundation of it is all an embodiment.
I just love this. It's just totally inspiring me. And I thought of a whole bunch of things I could change. Shaking it out is something I've used before, but not as a practice. The word practice for me is so powerful. And what it sounds like to me is you've just created a practice for yourself, and then you translate it to women, and then it works. It just made me think, because my mother stayed up into the middle of the night and then slept during the morning in order to get time to herself. And I learned to do that. For me, like the me time is like after midnight. Well, that's not good for me, though. It's not good for my body or anything. And the moment I wake up, I can't even take a moment for myself. I have to take care of my dog and get him out. So I make my walk into a personal moment of experiencing the outside. And that's the moment I breathe, putting on my clothes. But before I leave the house, it feels like everything else wants a piece of me, right? Is what you're saying. But I am going to try this. Definitely. I'm going to I've been like wanting to go to bed earlier and do my self-care routine. I'm come late to self-care. My mother was terrible at self-care, even though she was extremely about herself. And she must have been way better than me because she had so many lotions and stuff all around everywhere. And I have like nothing. I buy it and I forget to put it on my face. So that was really inspirational for me. I found that maybe you could speak to this. For me, I'm experiencing when I'm responding and not reacting, I'm breathing, everything takes more time. It feels like everything, and I'm experiencing this, and it feels like it takes a longer, and it infuses the space, and I get bigger. And then I discovered that it didn't. It literally did not take more time. What happened is, if I go into that kind of a fugue state while I'm working on something or writing or doing something like that, I've discovered that I got a whole day's project done in less than half an hour. And I don't even know how I did it. I didn't purposely concentrate. I was just expressing myself in a way. So what I try to do is do that, but I have not brought that to self-care. So I'm going to use what you were talking about and try getting up early in the morning, and maybe if I stay in bed, I can do something before I get up to take care of my dog. And maybe I could organize by getting out of the house differently and things like that, because I hate organizing and I hate scheduling and all that. So thank you for that. That was amazing. We only have like another 5-10 minutes. What would you like to address? I mean, that was just amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Rory. I mean, what I'd like to address is to tell, I guess, send a message to women that, and I feel like women don't really understand that or get it, is that a woman is the emotional center of a family, of a relationship, of a family. So it is absolutely crucial for us to take care of ourselves first, put ourselves first, get the best piece so that everything else thrives. So I used to think, and I think most women think like this: children first, husband, me. Or children, husband, everybody else, me, right? And then that's how we roll our lives. And then, we do everything for others. And then the last thing is me. But then you kind of forget about you because you expect that everybody else is kind of going to give it back to you or take care of you. But they don't. And so what ends up happening is this resentment is being built. Well, I do everything for you, and I do your clothes, and I do your this, and I cooked all these amazing. So actually yesterday, okay, perfect example. I cooked, obviously, I cooked dinner for the family and the children and all of that. And then my 4-year-old sits down, and I feel like mothers would resonate with this and laugh. My 4-year-old sits down and says, "Mommy, this is disgusting. I'm not going to eat any of this until you cook me something yummy." And of course, it kind of hits me, right? And granted, I've kind of I hate cooking, by the way. It's not that I hate cooking. I actually hate the organizing of all of that. Like freaking to think about the food and I know some women love it, but I don't. So I've organized this service that delivers me the ingredients and I just cook it. So it still hit me because I stood there for half an hour. I've cooked this, and it was a great meal, by the way. I loved it. My husband loved it. My 2-year-old loved it. And here's this princess who's 4 years old telling me, "This is disgusting. I'm not going to eat it." So that didn't feel good in my body. And imagine if I actually have planned it, if I actually have thought about the ingredients, went to the freaking farmer's market, got it, and then cooked it. That's like hours of work, right? But for me, it was half an hour. And so I sit there and I said, so if you don't want to eat it, that's okay. There's going to be no other food. And so, if you don't want to eat it, that's fine. Breakfast is going to be here at 7 a.m. in the morning. And so emotionally, I didn't react to that because, it doesn't affect me that much because I took care of myself first, if that makes sense. So I did not do this lunch or dinner or whatever because I put them first. I mean, obviously I love my children and everything, but it doesn't bother me that much. But okay, you don't want to eat, you don't want to eat it. So I don't keep tabs, and I don't keep tabs in my relationship either. Sometimes, very rarely, I get into this mode of like, but I did this, or you do that. With me and my husband, we work as a team. So because take care of myself first. If my daughter says that dinner's disgusting because she's 4, she doesn't understand whatever, no problem, right? If my husband says something that I don't like, I have a tool that takes care of all of my shit first, so that only after that I can come up to him and I can communicate to him based on my feelings, not from this place of a crazy woman. That's what women do in dating, right? They're like, because of all these beliefs that are stored in their body, all the stories, all the resentment, all of that, and then they're like, you didn't call me, you didn't ghost me, what is it, you know? But a woman who really loves herself and puts herself first is the queen of her own life. She doesn't need a man to make her happy. Of course, she's going to be with a man. She wants to be with a partner. She wants intimacy. But she also knows that she's going to be okay. And so she yearns and she craves for that intimacy, and her heart is open. And then she goes on a date with a man being curious and open and being in her feminine energy, where she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. That's what women do. They go on a date, and just like at a job interview, they feel like they have to prove what are her degrees and what. Men don't care about that. They don't care about how much money you're making. They don't care about how many certifications you have. And so when you do this work of really focusing on yourself, what's inside your body, learning how to feel and communicate that, then it's so much easier, because you don't have to prove anything to anyone. And it's such a better, easier way to live as a woman, because you're not this like frantic woman who's constantly needing to control because she doesn't feel good enough or worthy of great men to come into her life and take care of her. So that's what I would leave, I guess, your audience with.
Oh, I love that. I think you're fabulous. When can we do this again?
Do this again every day, Rory. I'm happy to be your guest. Thanks so much for inviting me.
First of all, tell me, what is your program like? Do you have any digital programs? How can women get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way to get in touch with me is actually go to my training. I just released a brand new training that encapsulates, all of the, I would say, 8 years of since I started to do this work. And I've done iterations of my training, but this one is top notch. It's the best thing that I've put out there. So it's at claimed.com/training, where they can sign up for this training, and they get these 3 pillars and the 3 key shifts that a woman needs to do today. And then in this training, if they want to jump on a call, it's a free call where they can talk to my team, whether working with me, working with us is a good fit. And if it's a good fit for both, then we get started. That's the only thing that I offer so far, Rory, and it has been for the last 3.5 years. And I feel like that's why I've really honed the message, and I got good at working with a specific type of woman who's single and successful. That's the best way. And obviously I'm on Instagram and everything, but I think if I could send them to one place, it would be claim.com/training.
I went there myself to learn more about you. I thought the website was gorgeous, for one thing, and really struck me as a beautiful expression of a woman who really knows what she's doing in business and what she wants things to look like and who she wants to be and where it is. I thought it was beautiful, and the training was so clean and clear. I really loved it. And the fact that you are coaching one-to-one, and you're obviously so gifted and have so much to offer. I mean, I've been kind of riveted to you, truly. I just think that's amazing. So all of the information will be down below here and all the links. And Anna, I look forward to meeting with you again. And if anybody has a question for me about Anna, please write and I will forward it on. And I really look forward to knowing you better.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Rory. It was a pleasure.
Oh, totally. Bye-bye.
Bye.